So happy 2026. And with the new year comes a whole new to-be-read list. And because I bought so many books, I need to read them all, so my dad doesn't kill me for not reading all the books that I spent a lot of money on. So to start, in the first category, I'm doing my long-term, high-priority to-be-read, so this is like 700 pages plus. And first is Don Quixote, or Don Quixote de la Mancha, depending on what book you get. You know, last year I read so many depressing books. I read Brothers Karamazov, I read Human Acts, I read Camus, I read Sartre, existentialists. So I'm so tired of feeling sad all the time. So I'm starting with a more comedic book for the year. It's a satire on a lot of novels written in Spain at the time, which is like this chivalrous, brave knight saving the princess. And apparently it was a groundbreaking work for literature. It started a lot of things that we see today, like the duo, like Batman and Robin, Sherlock and Watson. That's what started it. I don't know much more about it. It's a large book, so it's going to take me quite a while to read, which I'm happy about, because apparently it's very funny as well. So that's number one for my priority, to be read. And then second, it's The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. I've never read a Dumas book before. I actually have already started it a bit, to where they're trying to betray him. I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't care. So I'm going to read this. I'll probably read this in late 2026, because I have so many small books I want to read in between my large collection. It's about 800 pages, 900 pages. So I'll have this finished in about a month. This will be like a month-long read. This, the third long-term book, is what I'm going to be reading all over summer. It's what every single book nerd has heard of and says they have in their collection but has never read. It's War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. People put this on like number one of all of their book lists, the people who have read it. Like that guy Benjamin, I forget what his last name is, he has War and Peace as his number one book. It's just so long. I think it's 1,000 pages plus. And the writing, I can't tell if you can see, it's so small. So I'm gonna definitely hurt my eyes here. And I'm really only reading it just so I can say I've read it, like everyone else does. I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy it. Seeing as Dostoevsky's my favorite author, I don't know how he's going to pair in comparison, because Dostoevsky's just so good. You can't really beat him. But anyways, the final long-term novel that I have, a friend gave it to me, is this, Museum of the Innocents. I have no clue what it's about. I think it's set in Turkey or something. Won the Nobel Prize of Literature, the author, Orhan Pamuk. So I don't know how much I'll like it, but hopefully it's good. And then this next section is shorter literature, which is my high priority, in no particular order. So I picked up The Bell Jar in a bookstore after Christmas. I really don't want the performative male accusations for this, so I'm going to read this all at home. Next, my brother got me this for Christmas. Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm Irish, so I probably should have read this already. I also have a couple of Joyce books, but I'm not reading him. He's not anywhere near my priority list. I don't like Joyce. Too pretentious, you know. Next is The Iliad by Homer. I've read the Odyssey. I'm not very excited for the movie that's coming out, but I heard that this is a bit better. It's kind of cool reading about how in different time frames this book was more popular than the Odyssey. You know, you kind of have to read about it yourself, but the Iliad is, I'm pretty excited for this one. And then these next two I'm the most excited for. Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. So I read The White Guard, and it was very good. And I heard this is better. The White Guard is a bit more for like a Ukrainian audience or an Eastern audience. I feel like Master and Margarita is going to be a bit more universal. I think this won the Nobel Prize, if I'm not wrong. I might be mixing it up with Solzhenitsyn, but this is going to be great. I'm so excited to read this. And then finally, Dostoevsky, my final book of his that I need to finish for his like big five. You know, the way it's like Brothers Karamazov, Crime and Punishment, The Idiot, Notes from the Underground, and Devils. He's like his most underappreciated book. I don't know much about it. I know it's about rebels, revolution, but I'm really excited to read this one. And then some lower priority ones. I'm going to read American Psycho. Again, this is kind of the opposite of wanting to look performative. This is looking like kind of red pill. But I think it's going to be a pretty good book. Like, I really enjoyed the movie. It's probably going to be a bit different to the movie because they couldn't adapt some things into the movie that's in this. Like, this is apparently a really gnarly book, but I'm very excited to read this. It's just got such a bad reputation on the internet. And I also want to read The Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn, This won him the Nobel Prize in Literature. It's about gulags in Soviet Russia. He also has another book, which is basically a novel of this, which is The Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. I'm excited for that. It's just a bit low priority. And then The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I've read Blood Meridian, and I've read No Country for Old Men. His style's okay. I think it's a bit pretentious, but I heard that this is a beautiful book. Man Carrying Thing read this. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll pick it up and read it. But yeah, I'm going to definitely read this. That's the end of the literature. Oh, but no, wait. These are 2 books I want to reread. I'll start with my less favorite one, which is still like my top 5 favorite books of all time. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, this guy right here. I just mentioned The Road. This is a beautiful book. This is one of the first books I read when getting into literature. It was so good. I just loved it. I don't know why. There's just something so eerie about it. It's a kind of book you have to reread and reread and reread, and you always find new things about it. And I've only read it once, so I'm definitely going to reread this. This is my second favorite book of all time, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The greatest title of a book I've ever heard, and the greatest intro lines. Just listen to this. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Orleano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. What a banger. It's just such a beautiful book. I've decided I wanted to reread it after I did some research into it after I'd finished it. I realized that there was so much depth that I hadn't finished of this, that I hadn't recognized of this. Like, I didn't even realize the collection with Macondo and mirrors. No spoilers, but the deaths of all the members correlate. So all the lines and all the lineages, they all have similar deaths, which is cool. I'm just so excited to read this. Now on to more boring stuff that nobody probably cares about. I'm actually really big into psychology. I don't talk about it that much. Well, literature is psychology, but like psychology. These are the only 2 physical books that I have that I plan on reading. But I plan on getting other ones by different psychologists. I want to read Jung, A Modern Man in Search of a Soul, his Red Book. I want to read more Freud, and I want to read more contemporary psychology. But this guy is who I want to start off with in terms of psychology. He's actually Carl Jung's protege. It's Eric Niemann. He wrote The Origins and the History of Consciousness and the Fear of the Feminine. So these 2 are the main psychology books I want to be reading. This is a big-ass book. It's more of a history book than it is a psychology book, apparently, because it delves into different cultures and their interpretations of consciousness. I think consciousness is such a underappreciated thing in literature, but they never touch on it. I think the incorporeal state of human existence is so untouched on. It's something everyone could write about, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a disgusting book. I picked it up in a secondhand bookstore because like a new copy is like €30. But I'm gonna read these 2. The cover's a bit bad. I might have to blur that out. And then philosophy. I'm a philosophy dork over the literature. So I'm going to reread Plato's The Republic. I didn't put this in the reread section because I didn't understand much of it when I was younger. I read it when I was like 13 or 14. So I'm going to reread this. We touched on him in my politics class. I was a bit better at this than most because I'd already understood his points. I didn't appreciate it as much, but I'm kind of halfway into it again. Foucault, postmodernist philosopher. Discipline and Punish is his big book. I also want to read History of Sexuality and his essays on power. So this is going to be really exciting for me to read. I've already started it again. I want to read more Kierkegaard. So I've read Fear and Trembling. I'm rereading this. I'm right here. Yeah, I have a pretty bad habit. I use like the most ugly bookmarks in the world. Like this is just a tissue. But yeah, Fear and Trembling. I know I said I didn't want to read existentialists because of how depressing it is, but apparently Kierkegaard is a bit more hopeful. And finally, the final book I want to read in 2026. This is going to be all my to be read for the year. The Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus by Ludwig Wittgenstein. I'm trying to get more into logic. Probably not the best way to start, but I've read a bit of it. It's very interesting. And his foreword is so cool because I thought the exact same thing as him. There's no spoilers, I presume, so I guess I can say it. He said basically the only people who's going to understand the book are the people who have had previous thoughts about what he's talking about. which is very relatable to me, because especially when I was reading Nietzsche, a lot of thoughts I had whenever I was younger that I thought I was like some genius for having them, Nietzsche just said them. And other readers, like, you ever have that where you have this thought in your brain and you think no one else thinks it, and then someone says it in a book that was written like 400 years ago, and you're like, fuck, I thought I was the original guy. But no, he mentioned that, and I thought that was so cool. I want to read some other guys. I want to read Aristotle. I want to read more Bertrand Russell, more Nietzsche. I'm definitely going to have to reread Nietzsche. And I want to read people like Kant, Hegel, Hume. Schopenhauer is a big one who I want to get into. I forget what his big one is. I'll put it here somewhere. But anyways, that is all the books I'm going to be reading in 2026. So now let's go to the gym. So in the making of this video, one of my shorts, this guy here, got a bit of negative attention from the commenters. So you can pause to read this. And I'm basically adding this voiceover in this gym collection to my book video so I can just talk more about absurdism, so I can stop getting strawmanned by these atheist skinny neck commenters. Like, bro, I'm not even Catholic. I find that a lot of people have thoughts of absurdism and existentialism to be very comforting, which makes complete sense. But a big thing that I want to emphasize is that the stuff that we like and the ideas that we like to have are not always the things that actually happen. We need to separate from the normative and the positive thoughts that we have. And while in a normative sense, existentialism might be quite comforting, I think in the way we act positively, what actually happens is that we don't act in accordance to existential or absurdist principles. Just for me, for example, I find it very hard to believe in the idea of morality if there is no such thing as a creator or any meaning to life. I don't think that morality can be explained in any other way. And that's what I'm saying. People don't act like absurdists. Even Camus didn't act like an absurdist. If you read what he talked about the Algerian Revolution, he was extremely against the violence, and he said something along the lines of, if I had to choose to sacrifice my mother on the streets in the means to fight for Algeria's freedom, I wouldn't choose for it. Camus was still a moral person. He still loved his mother. It's basically the antithesis to the outsider. So even the philosopher who came up with absurdism does not believe absurdism. He does not act like the absurd man. And that's why I said I had a love-hate relationship with Camus. His writing is fantastic. He has amazing psychology. It's just the absurdist philosophy is not a realistic one. And you're never going to find a person who's actually an absurdist. Not a single person acts like an existentialist. I think that it is possible to become the absurd man, or Meursault. And even if Meursault did appear to us, he wouldn't exactly be the most iconic character that we would love to be, or the most admirable person. He would probably be some loser that we wouldn't even like. Like, the book posits him in his own perspective, so he's a bit more likable than usual. But he's not the person you want to be like. He's not a good human being. And the only justification to his actions is the absurdist philosophy, which again, I don't agree with. It's just unrealistic. Not a single person acts like that. Yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys like this video. I'll leave a link to my shorts, or the short video that I'm talking about, in the comments or in my description, wherever. I gotta cook dinner now.